So there was actually a method in the arrangement of the papers in that I wanted you guys to see the entrance. I'm sorry we didn't get to see the video because the entrance is difficult and you're lowering a piece of inanimate steel like 60 or 80 pounds. And then we started thinking, well, what if you were, God forbid, hauling a human being? What if you had a rescue? So safety and rescue are considerations. And I was not on the trip, but I'd heard some rumors that there had been an accident. And I had asked Bill about it, and he started telling me the story, and I said, hold it. I want you to tell this story at the symposium. And then he informed me that Diana, Tomchick, had also had an accident in the cave. So today we're going to hear from the Broken Bones couple, Bill and Diana.
Now the Broken Bones couple is his title. My part of this I call how I broke my leg and ankle, did a self-rescue, and then rescued somebody else.
It's all yours, man.
Sure. The story there is, I was fortunate enough, mainly through my great friendship with Jim Smith over here, who I've known since he was 18 years old, and look at him now. So it's been a while. So he let me in on a great secret. And it has been a secret. Or was a secret for a long time, Helm's Deep Cave. And I said, yeah, I'll drive over there from Dallas, Texas. It's just 13 hours. I got Sirius XM in the truck. You know, I got plenty of channels to listen to. So I went over there a few times. And in December of 2022, I went over there. And who should be there but an NSS Board of Governors director, Mickey Manning. So I started talking to Mickey about ideas I've had about how the NSS can increase membership, and that's through recruiting people to go to grotto meetings that aren't NSS members. There are those. They're in our grotto. They're in every grotto. Let's do something about that and bring them in the tribe. Well, anyway, we went caving the next morning, and I had more to say to her. But she went on a different trip than I did. So I went on it was going to be a long trip. We were going to the far reaches, I think, to the far north. So we were planning on 16, 17, 18-hour trip.
It was the 50-mile trip.
Yeah, we're going to surpass the 50-mile in length trip. Now, Crash talked about sticky mud. But there's some places back in Helm's Deep Cave with some very slippery mud. Very slippery. And I've said since then that I've probably fallen 1,000 times in caves since I was 15 years old and didn't get hurt. Well, this time I slipped, fell suddenly, landed awkwardly, felt something pop in my right leg, and I'd hurt myself. And I was about an hour and a half from the entrance. I wanted to do a self-rescue. In fact, Jim even said, when I was laying there on the floor saying I'd hurt my leg, he even said, haven't you always said that a self-rescue isn't even a rescue at all? It's a mere inconvenience? Is that what this is, an inconvenience? Now that's kind of calling my hand, you know? Yeah, that's it. Now, something incredible about that was, there was a guy, Joel Bennett, on that trip that had a trekking pole. I've never been caving with a guy who's got a trekking pole. He's also a chiropractor. So he started examining me, thinking it's my knee, and I'm saying, no, I don't think so. I think it's in my lower leg. But may I borrow your trekking pole, and may that be my crutch? And I'm going to get myself out of here. So Dave Parr went with me for an hour and a half to the entrance, and he was gracious enough to remain at the base of the entrance pit while I figured out how to climb that route up that breakdown and go out into the 20-degree December weather. Nobody was out there. I limped over to our camp, and I got in a warm sleeping bag, and I decided, well, I'm going to carry on this conversation with Mickey Manning by text message. I got more to say about NSS membership to that director, and she doesn't even have to listen to me. I'll just send it to her as a text message. And I don't have to listen to her. It's a one-sided conversation. So I create this lengthy text message and send it to her. And she replies, huh? And she says, you're out of the cave? And I said, yeah, you're out of the cave? Why are you out of the cave? And she says, we were in a wet area. I got wet. I got cold. I left the cave. It's 20 degrees outside, and I got lost in the woods. I can't find the camp. Twice. Now that's dangerous. It's 20 degrees out and you're wet. So what did she do? She went over there to the entrance where you saw pictures a minute ago of that gate, sat there in that 55 degree, I guess it is 55 degree Fahrenheit air, which is warmer than that 20 degree air up there, and it was cold as could be when she gets this text message. Somebody's out of the cave, and I said, well, I got a scurry on. I'll limp, I'll get out of my sleep bag, I'll limp over to that clearing, and I'll light up the woods. And you'll see where I am. You come over and you'll warm up. So that's what she did. And we got in her car and she ran the engine, and I told her more about my ideas about membership. So,
we're going to have a problem with that.
Not working. Yeah, I don't understand why it's freezing up. They did something to it.
Almost like if it sits too long.
That's it. It's sitting too long. It's done. Don't worry. Not the end of the world.
Because it, you know, I had a
Right. Nothing. No, I don't have it.
okay, it was the fibula, the non-weight bearing bone, and that's called a spiral fracture. I twisted when I slipped, and there it is, 2 angles. I could walk on it, limp on it. It hurt a little bit, and I didn't have to have surgery, and I had a walking cast, and it took a couple months, and I was okay. But it was actually the ligament of my right foot, not so much the broken ankle, that caused it took longer to heal. And but I healed, and I'm one half of the broken bone couple, and here's the other half.
So hi, I don't know how many of you know me. I don't live in Tag. I live with Bill.
We're sorry.
But while Bill's the person I've surveyed the most feet with, the person I've surveyed the second longest distance with is Jim Smith. And I wouldn't be up here to tell this story if it wasn't for Jonathan Cover and Jim Smith and Hal Love and all the people involved in this incredible project. So once again, the line plot. Here's the entrance. Here's where the incident happened. And I didn't name this area of the cave Mount Doom, but that's the name of it. And I didn't know that was the name of it at the time. So what happens here? We just heard earlier today that the cave is actually going deeper, trending, not super deep and super fast, trending to that northwest. So, next slide. Okay, so you saw all these slides of what you would expect, elephant tracks, sort of inverted, piles of dirt in the middle, but there are a lot of places in this cave where you have the opposite, where you have these mounds of dirt in the center of the passage. Now, this is not as pretty as the passage that we were surveying. It was still mostly walking or crouching, but big piles of dirt. And they're hard to walk on, actually, because you try to decide, do I walk on this side or that side? You try to walk on the top, it doesn't work very well. Yeah.
There you go.
So, this is what happened to me. I was surveying with Jim and Tommy Shiflett. I was point, and we get back into where it's getting a little wetter. And so instead of this pointed, loose dirt, suddenly, there's this nice kind of wet, flat, compacted mud you can walk along. You're like, wow, we can make great time on that. And I don't wear my hearing aids when I'm surveying, so communicating with Tommy, who was instrument, it was a lot of turning around, I can't hear you, Tommy, and then trying to figure out where I'm going to put the point. So Jim, he's got his nose in the survey book. And I'm on the left wall, and all of a sudden, I feel my left foot is, the whole thing starting to give way. And I think, oh, you know, if I'm right against the left wall, maybe I can stop from falling. And the whole thing collapsed. And when I finally stood up, I couldn't see over the top of that mound of dirt. Fortunately, there were no rocks that I fell. I fell flat on my back, my head bounced. I thought, well, I broke this finger. And you know, if you've broken a bone, you know what it feels like. So it swelled up all through here. So Tommy says, would you like me to splint it? And I said, ain't nobody here is touching this finger. And in the meantime, I'm still laying on my back, and I hear Jim say, why haven't you set the point yet? and I'm laying there trying to decide if I broke my rib, and I said, because I fell. Well, get up, he says. Let's get going. And I'm like, I got to figure out if there's anything else broken besides the finger. And he's like, that's nothing. You can still survey. So we did. We finished surveying that passage. And so then it's like, okay, well, he told me, I asked him first before we went to the cave, how many hours is the trip going to be? Oh, I wanted to be 14. Wound up being 13. And so on the way out of the cave, he runs off ahead. Tommy carries my pack for me because, you know, there's a lot of crawling. And I'm like, I don't want to have to be worrying about protecting this finger and then also dragging a pack behind me. So he rushes off, and all of a sudden we come to him, he's standing in a side passage, and he says, I found a virgin passage, we should survey it. And my rib's bruised, I don't know if it's cracked. I'm standing there like this, and I said, I'm not surveying it, I'm getting out of this cave. Because I know there's that entrance drop, and Tommy helped me out. Fortunately, it's not a lot of vertical elevation in the cave, but the entrance drop was one of the tricky ones, and Tommy helped me out. Yeah, the next one. So what happened was that finger got dislocated. This is the index finger, got dislocated and got broken into 4 different pieces. Next one. And so there's another view of it. This is a month later after they put a screw, which is still in there, and pins to hold those little pieces together. Orthopedic surgeon said, wow, you'll be lucky if you can bend it. I can bend it, but not completely. And so, next one, this is what the pins look like. And when he said pins,
she wants you to look at this.
Pins in, and then you take them out. I said, how's that work? Well, I found out. And so that's what it looks like. And I named them. They were actually wires. So I named that one barbed wire, being from Texas, right? And that one's nanowire. So the last thing is a video, if it will play. You have to do one more advance. And this is the thing I had to wear to protect those pins. And you know, try and type. And I'm right-handed. But yeah, so there are other places in the cave that we were always told about. Be careful. Slipping and falling, but also these places where the shale collapses, and you walk up these shale collapses, all the rocks are slippery, and you can slip and fall, and then the ceiling, don't grab that ceiling even though you want to, and then I found a different way. So if you're in there, in that area, be careful walking on that enticing looking flat mud. Thank you.